Welcome back. In this training video, we will explore the user setup that will help make the most out of your fulfillment efforts. And then we'll introduce you to FOURA's Pick Tickets form and workflow. So let's get started. We need to do some setup in order to make sure that our Pick Tickets form is going to provide the information that is most relevant to your efforts. So the first thing that we're going to do is find the default warehouse. Then we'll set the user default warehouse. And after that, we'll take a look at the stock control to make sure that the primary locations are set for each item in the warehouse. Once all that's taken care of, we'll see how the pick ticket form functions and complete a pick. So let's begin by locating the warehouse code so that we can set the default warehouse. Start from the inventory main menu, then in the control submenu, select the warehouse menu icon in the functional menu. The warehouse's form can also be accessed by typing WHS in the menu code area of the FOURA Navigator. Once you've reviewed the options and decided on the warehouse code, we can return to the FOURA Navigator by selecting the Navigator header, if visible, or by pressing the F11 button on the keyboard to bring the Navigator to the forefront. So now let's talk about the user default warehouse. So now that we're at the Navigator, let's right-click on our username and select the User Preference menu option. When the form opens, let's type in the default warehouse code that you're affiliated with, save the line, and close the form. This will set the user default so that the default warehouse data is presented upon opening the Pick Tickets form. Now let's navigate over to the stock control form. From the inventory main menu, we want to select the control submenu and select stock control from the functional menu. You can also type SCO in the menu code area of the FOURA Navigator. What we're checking here is all items in the user's warehouse have a primary location assigned. We strongly suggest that this is done during item setup, but it is not a system requirement. What it does is provide significant efficiencies in the receiving and picking processes. Items that don't have a primary location won't provide the necessary default information on the pick ticket, and that will hinder the fluency of the pick process. The pick ticket form can be found in two functional areas in FOURA. The form can be found in AR, however it's typically accessed by the order fulfillment staff in the inventory functional menu. So let's begin there. Starting from the inventory main menu, then in the inventory submenu, which displays the pick ticket menu icon in the functional menu. The pick tickets form can also be accessed by typing PCK in the menu code area of the FOURA Navigator. The pick ticket form looks and behaves much like a standard browse form with a quick filter, control buttons, and filter bar. In the default filter, you will see that completed is set to 0 or not complete, and the warehouse is set to my warehouse, which is the default that we set in the user preference moments ago. As you likely already know, columns can be added, hidden, repositioned, and renamed from the column chooser. Once you get the columns set up the way you want, please remember to select the saved layout so you don't lose your effort when you log out. I'll go through a couple of the key supporting columns now so you can better understand how they relate to the data. Pick status. The common values are canceled, released, issued, invoiced, and complete. A release pick ticket will also show the demand on the inventory as allocated in stock control. And issue indicates that the inventory has been picked, but the invoice has not been created. The hold column. When you see a green checkbox, this indicates that there's a hold on this order. Select the green checkbox to review the hold type. Pick tickets that are on hold will not be able to be processed until the hold is released. Notes column. When there's a capital Y in the field, it indicates that there's a note on the affiliated pick ticket. Select the Y to view the related note. Available. This is a status column by warehouse and is subject to change as orders are fulfilled, inventory issues occur, and receipts are completed. If the status is blank, the pick ticket is completed or canceled. Status 1 codes are green. This indicates that sufficient quantity exists to pick all the items across all orders for the items on this pick ticket. In other words, there are no shortages and no strategic fulfillment decisions to be made. Status 2 codes are yellow. These indicate that sufficient quantities exist to pick this pick ticket, but not all pick tickets for one or more of the same items. So you will need to prioritize which of the status 2 pick tickets you will need to fulfill first. This will likely require fulfillment personnel to fulfill orders according to company policy or engage with account managers to determine the most critical fulfillment priorities. Status 3 codes are red. Insufficient quantity exists to pick all items on the pick ticket. This means that this will leave a backordered position for your customers. These items are already appearing on the buyer stock shortage report, but may be worth escalating according to your company's procedures. Also note that the availability status will update in real time. As soon as a receipt is processed, another pick is completed, inventory adjustments occurred, even a new or revised canceled sales order may change the pick status. To see current status, users will need to requery the pick tickets form. Required date. This is when the customer needs to have the items delivered. Now let's talk about the pick ticket numbering schema before we open a pick ticket. A pick ticket number aligns with a sales order number and ends with a -1. This indicates that this is the first iteration of the pick ticket and no quantities have been picked against it. If the pick ticket had a -2 or a -3, This would indicate that the pick ticket was in a backordered position and it would be a second or third attempt to pick all of the items on this pick ticket. Now that we understand the numbering schema, let's look at a pick ticket. To view a pick ticket, users need to use the pick ticket Zoom link to open the pick tickets form. The form is pretty straightforward. In the header there's a quick filter, an add attachment button, a print button, and a complete button. The view invoice button will be available once the pick ticket has been completed and the invoice has been generated. The checkbox in the upper right is a pre-filter that limits the quick filter results to your default warehouse. In other words, if you leave the checkbox unchecked and you select the all in the quick filter, you'll get all records for all warehouses. In the body of the form there is the pick ticket number, the sales order number that can be zoomed in if need be. Then there's the customer PO, the business unit, and the warehouse that the sales orders have specified. The next row down shows the customer code with a zoom link so that you can zoom to the customer record if needed, as well as a ship tag and a description to the right. Then there's the date ordered, printed, and shipped. To the right of that is a gray shaded area where the number of shipping boxes, total weight, freight costs, and freight amount to be invoiced can be entered along with the waybill number. A quick note about freight amount. The freight amount defaults to being a required field. However, your system administrator can set the freight amount to not be required if your business does not require this entry. And finally, in the upper right corner is the status of the pick ticket. This one happens to be released, which indicates that the sales order has went from either draft or revised to release status, and this pick ticket is now released so that it can be picked. Below the body is our primary interaction point with pick ticket details. Starting at the left are the lines, the quantity remaining to be picked, and the unit of measurement. Then there is the pick quantity that will automatically enter the full amount if there is sufficient amounts available from the primary location of the item. This is why we checked earlier to make sure that all items in the warehouse had a primary location set. To the right of the primary location is the quantity on hand, the item number, the description, the multiplier for the lowest unit of measure, and others. If the item requires a serial number, there will be a green checkbox in this box. That control is on the item master and should comply with the company procedures. To the right would be the serial number count. This indicates how many of the required serial numbers have been documented upon the pick. To enter a serial number, simply zoom to the Pick Serials Number form and begin typing or use a barcode scanner, and when you're done you can simply save and close the form. The suggested workflow is to print the pick ticket and send the fulfillment person out into the warehouse with a pen and pick the items from the defined primary locations. This person should write in all the quantities picked according to the pick ticket unit of measure. Once the pick has been manually done, the items can be packaged, measured, weighed, and a waybill can be assigned. All this information should be written or attached to the pick ticket and returned to whomever is responsible for the pick ticket completion. This information needs to be entered into the pick ticket, and any supporting attachments should be affixed at this time. Then the user can select the ship date and select the complete button. At this point, the complete pick ticket form appears. In the invoice options section, there are options that should be selected according to your business policy. When Invoice Now is selected, the invoice will be generated as soon as the pick ticket is complete. This doesn't imply that the invoice will be sent to the customer, only that the sales invoice has been generated. If Later is selected, then the invoice will be created at a later time by AR personnel using the auto invoice batch process. If Never is selected, there will not be an invoice issued for this pick ticket. For the purpose of this tutorial, we're going to select the Now option and leave the invoice date set to today. Then in the backorder options section, there is a Kill Backorder checkbox. If this is selected, any unfulfilled quantity will be set to 0 on the pick ticket and on the sales order. This means that no backorder quantity will remain against the sales order or the pick ticket. Again, selecting this checkbox should align with your specific business policies and procedures. If there is a known backorder ship date, it can be entered now. The Print Pick Ticket checkbox defaults to a green checkbox. This will print out the next pick ticket if required. Otherwise, simply select your print mode and output device, and then select the Set as Default button. Now these will be your specific user preferences when processing pick tickets. Now we can select the Complete button. If for any reason there's an issue with the transaction, a dialog box will appear and you will need to resolve the defined issue and reselect the Complete button again. It's far more likely that everything will go as planned and the FOURA message box will appear, indicating that the pick ticket completed successfully. Upon closing the form, you'll see that the status of the pick ticket is now invoiced or complete if the Invoice Now option wasn't selected. So let's recap. We successfully did all of the setup, completed a pick ticket, and created an affiliated invoice within a few minutes. Well, that wraps up this tutorial. Please be sure to check out additional tutorials to learn more about FOURA's powerful features, processes, and tips. Thanks for watching.